and welcome to episode 21 of the Knitty Heather podcast. My name is Heather and I'm coming to you from Kent, Washington, where I live with my husband Tom and our Cavalier King Charles Spaniel Pepper. This is my podcast where I talk all about my knitting and a little bit of crochet this time, and everything I learn along the way. I like to try to share my tips and tricks that I pick up as I work on my projects. I also love featuring makers, any kind of maker such as yarn dyers, bag makers, progress keeper makers, anybody that makes anything to add to the beautiful fiber community. I really love to support all you lovely makers out there. If you are a new viewer, welcome. I am so happy that you found me. I hope you enjoy it. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. If you would like to follow me, I am at Knitty Heather on Instagram, and I always love seeing what everybody is up to on Instagram, see all the projects that they post about. Anything I talk about, all of the yarn and patterns and accessories will be listed and linked in the description box below. Today is Friday, March 26th, and I have a lot to tell you about and a lot of beautiful yarn to show you, so let's get started. Today I am wearing my Squared Away cowl by Suze Ryan. This is actually a shawl pattern, but I seamed it together to kind of make an infinity loop. It has different squares that are offsetting between garter ridges and some eyelets. I used a gradient trio in the colorway Vacation Time from Zen Yarn Garden. I knit this in 2019, and I believe I started with this lighter color and then moved on to kind of this medium shade. And then all the way into this darkest color, kind of some really pretty shades of teal. Again, this was a gradient trio by Zen Yarn Garden. This is a really fun knit. It would be a perfect shawl to do as a wrap, which I think is how it was originally intended. It's also one that you could make wider if you wanted to really make it. It would almost even make a good blanket if you made it super, super wide. But this is the Squared Away shawl. I did it as an infinity loop by seaming it together just with a whip stitch. Knit up in Zen Yarn Garden's Gradient Trio in the colorway Vacation Time. Today I am also wearing a pair of vanilla socks using the Go Your Own Way pattern by Stacy Winklepleck of Knit Picks. I think I knit these back in 2019 while on vacation in New York City. It was my travel airplane knitting. The yarn I used was Knit Picks Stroll Fingering in the colorway Big Top. They were knit from the cuff down with a 1x1 rib, a heel flap and gusset, and a wedge toe. Now on to some acquisitions. 2 weekends ago, I took myself on a little mini yarn crawl. I knew that Nancy from Trilogy Yarns was going to be doing a trunk show at the Nifty Knitter in Issaquah, and so I definitely wanted to stop by and see her. I purchased 2 skeins from her. These are both Trilogy Yarns. This I think is her older label and this is her newer label. The colorways I got were Stormy Weather, kind of this really pretty silvery gray. And what I believe is one of her newer colorways called Trailhead. All kinds of fun colors in this one. Kind of some creams and some greens, some oranges. A really fun colorway with this one. I was really excited to pick up a variegated and a tonal. My plan for these is to put them together in the Honeycomb Cowl by Kelly Sartori. I'll insert a picture over here. But I thought these 2 colorways would go really nicely together. I will use the Stormy Weather gray color kind of as the outline of the little honeycombs. And the main color will be the Trailhead. I think these will knit up really nicely in that pattern. It's a pattern that I've been eyeing for quite some time on Ravelry, and I've had it favorited for probably years now. And I'm excited to finally knit it up someday very soon in these 2 beautiful colorways. This is Trilogy Yarns, Nancy out of Spokane. She has a website, go check it out, along with a lot of really fun clubs. I do believe she even has a Christmas in July advent that is still for sale. I purchased one because I always love a Christmas in July advent. So check her website out, trilogyyarn.com. Also, if you're in the area, check out the Nifty Knitter in Issaquah, Washington, a wonderful local yarn store. So then the next day, my husband and I had some errands that we were running, and they were in Renton, and my husband said, well, why don't you stop by and see what's going on at the new Knittery? And so I did. There I purchased 2 skeins that will be socks. This first one is from Knitted Wit. This is her Victory Sock 80/20 Superwash Merino Nylon. And it's in the colorway Team USA. I thought these would be fun 4th of July socks to knit up sometime. I don't have a pair of 4th of July socks, but I also have a good friend who really loves the 4th of July, so I may knit something up for her as well. This is Knitted Wit Victory Sock in the colorway Team USA. I also picked up Lorna's Laces Shepherd Sock in the colorway Purple Iris. I thought this was really beautiful. I plan to make some socks out of this too. I really love this yarn. I've only used it once a couple years ago, but it was very memorable, just as a very nice sock yarn to work with, and it's been washed and holds up beautifully, I've noticed, in the other pair I have out of this. So this is Purple Iris from Lorna's Laces Shepherd Sock. This is also an 80/20 base. Please check her shop out as well. I will link both websites for both of these local yarn shops below. Now on to finished objects. I only have one to show you this week, but I am very happy to have it off the needles. These are my new sleeping socks, and you better believe I will be putting these on and wearing them tonight. This is in the colorway Gingham by Amber of Amber's Craft Place on Etsy. Really beautiful spring colors. This is her 100% superwash merino base, and it is very squishy, very, very comfortable. I cannot wait to cozy up in these later tonight. I did 12 rounds of a 2x2 rib, about 30 rounds down the leg. The pattern I followed calls for a heel flap and gusset, and then I did about 30 more rounds down the foot and closed it up with a wedge toe. The pattern I followed was the Learn to Knit Socks by Stacey Perry of verypink.com. This is the perfect beginner sock pattern for worsted weight yarn, and I simply love it for sleeping socks. I always love wearing socks to bed, and I really needed to add to my collection, so I'm happy to have a new pair off the needles. This is Gingham by Amber's Craft Place. This is the Learn to Knit Socks pattern by Stacey Perry, knit up in Gingham by Amber's Craft Place on Etsy. Last time I looked in her shop, she did have this colorway available. I'm not sure if she still does, but she did have it available when I looked a couple days ago. Now on to my works in progress. I'd like to start by telling you about a couple that I've had on the needles for a while, but this should hopefully be the last time you ever see them as whips. Next time I record, I hope that they are finished objects, and they should be, no problem. First is my Rainbow Connection socks. This is a pattern by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady. This is my second sock, and I am knitting it out of Desert Vista Dye Works, her Winter Rainbow sock set that had 2 50-gram hanks in it, a self-striping and then kind of a tonal. I did the heel flap and gusset that she calls for and then closed up the gusset. I really just have about 20 or 30 rounds left, I believe, on the foot. It is matching up very nicely to the first sock that I have off the needles, and I'm very pleased with that. I always like trying to match my self-striping socks. This Cupcake Progress Keeper is from Bluebird Miniatures on Etsy. And I am using my ChiaoGoo 32-inch red lace needles. So I'm really loving this pattern. I think it's so much fun. This is the first of 4 that I hope to knit up this year. I'm trying to do one quarterly. I'm just about done with the winter rainbow, and then I'm hoping on April 1st to cast on the spring rainbow. And here's what that looks like. I thought I'd show you what the spring rainbow sock set looks like. So it will have the cream kind of as the solid color. And then the self-striping kind of has some more of these pastel-y colors, a really bright, pretty yellow. Super excited to cast these on in the Rainbow Connection pattern. So one last look at it as a work in progress. I did 16 rounds of a 2x2 rib, and I thought that was a good length for the cuff. You end up doing the heel flap and turn in the solid color. And now I'm just continuing down the foot. You switch colors every 2 rounds, and you're able to kind of just carry both colors as you work. You don't need to ever cut your yarn for this pattern, which is really nice. She gives you a few tips in the pattern about how to manage your yarn so that you don't ever need to cut it. This is the Rainbow Connection sock by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady, knit up in Desert Vista Dye Works Winter Rainbow sock set. Next is my London socks. This is a pattern by Mina Phillip, the Knitting Expat. And it is a very cool geometric knit and purl pattern. Not nearly as complicated as it may look. It really is just different combinations of knits and purls. I am choosing to only work the texture across the front, but you can work it across the back. You just need to repeat that pattern sequence along the back, but I'm just leaving the back stockinette, and I love how that is looking. This progress keeper is a donut from Sucre Miniatures, and I have it in my donut project bag from Mountain State Stitches on Etsy. This has also been a really fun knit, and I am just about done. This is my second sock. It's a very addicting knit. You just kind of want to keep going and going. I love patterns that have just enough going on that keeps you motivated. I did my German short row heel. I did a garter version, which means I just knit every row instead of purling along the wrong side. The yarn I'm using is Lolo Did It. This was her January sock set from her Downton Abbey Upstairs and Downstairs Club. The main color is called Left at the Altar. Really pretty purple. And the mini is called Jilted. As you see, I've just about used up all of my mini. I only have the toe left to do with the mini. They both have the same speckles, which really makes it cohesive and a lot of fun. And it's interesting to see how the speckles worked on both of the base colors. Really, really fun sock set. I am excited to finish knitting down the foot, close up the toe. She gives you some specific directions for the toe, which I will follow. I did on the first sock. This is my second sock. I did 20 rounds of a 2x2 rib. And I should have this done by the end of the month to be able to cast on her next pair in her Around the World in 8 Socks Club. This was the first pair in her latest club, and next month's pair in April is inspired by Paris. This is the colorway I am hoping to use for my Paris socks. This was the very first Downton Abbey Upstairs and Downstairs Sock Club. I think I did show this sometime over the summer on the podcast. This sock set is called Lady Mary's Virtue, and I think it will knit up into another beautiful pair of socks by the very talented Mina Phillip, the Knitting Expat. Excited to cast these on at the beginning of April as well, whatever that sock is going to look like. I have no idea. She has not released the pattern yet, but with Mina Phillip, you know it's going to be something good. This is the London sock by Mina Phillip, knit up in Lolo Did It, Left at the Altar, and Jilted. Next, I'd like to tell you about my Desert Vista Dye Work socks for the month of March. I am participating in her 7th annual monthly sock club, where you knit a pair of socks out of one of her colorways every month. I am using her colorway Speckled Jelly Beans. Here's what it looks like in the cake. along with a pink mini that was from one of her mini sets last year. I did the toes in this pink mini, and I've marked for my afterthought heel. This breakfast bagel progress keeper is from Sucre Miniatures. And I have just about finished my tubes. I'm just about done with this yellow stripe. Then it goes into a little bit of orange. Once I am done with that orange, I will pick up the pink with the mini for the cuff. I will probably do about 12 rounds of cuff, and then I will go back and knit my afterthought heel with this pink mini as well. So I'm so close to being done with these. Pretty much just a few more rounds. I think I will try to finish up the main part of the leg, that orange stripe, during knit night tonight. And then I will just have the cuff and the heels to do these last couple days of the month, and I will have my March socks done. I have it in my Sock Monkey project bag from MLD Threads on Etsy. I really love the stripes on this colorway, that they are all speckled. I like that the purple and blue are a little more lightly speckled, and then the yellow, orange, and pink are super duper speckled. Really pretty how she dyes that up. I have no idea how you do stripes, much less speckled stripes. So that's like extra tricky to be able to do that, I imagine, as a dyer. So kudos to you, Susan of Desert Vista Dye Works. You are an amazing yarn dyer. This is Desert Vista Dye Works Speckled Jelly Beans. Now it's time to tell you about my Cozy Knitter Yarn of the Month socks. I have them in my Bumblebee bag from MLD Threads on Etsy. One of my favorite bags. And this is her newest Yarn of the Month colorway. It is called Let's Calibrate. And instead of including one 30-gram contrasting mini to go with the main yarn, she included 3 10-gram minis. This pretty red, blue, and green. So what I have done, I haven't made as much progress on this one as I would have liked, only a few rounds since last time. But as you can see, the main yarn really is kind of almost a gradient. I've just gotten into the darker stripe again. I am using my Lady Progress Keeper from Fangirl Fibers. And as you can see, I did the toe in this red. I think I'm going to do the toes in the red. I think I'll do a Fish Lips Kiss heel with the blue, and I will save this green for the cuff. I am using my ChiaoGoo 9-inch circulars. I felt like doing these one at a time on a 9-inch circular. I haven't quite decided when I do the Fish Lips Kiss heel if I'll switch to a circular to do magic loop, or I might use 2 DP ends. We'll see kind of what I feel like once I get up there. I'm only about halfway down the foot. I think I have about 30 more rounds left to do on the foot, but I really love this very interesting colorway. This is Let's Calibrate by the Cozy Knitter. Now on to my next pair of sleeping socks. As soon as I cast my gingham socks off, I really wanted to cast on another pair immediately. I have them in my sheep bag from April 9 Designs on Etsy, and I'm using this cute sheep progress keeper as a zipper pull. This is from Bump on a Hill on Etsy. So here is my newest sleeping sock. I am using a different cupcake progress keeper from Simply Serving. And I just finished the cuff. This is Oil Slick by Trilogy Yarns. I ordered this from her a little while ago with the intention of knitting sleeping socks. And it is so cool. I love all the different colors she was able to get in this colorway. It really does look like a puddle of oil in a parking lot or something like that. Oil Slick is the perfect name for it. I am once again using my Knitter's Pride Dreams size 5 double pointed needles. And I think this is knitting up absolutely incredibly. I really love this yarn. This is another very squishy worsted yarn. It's going to knit up to be very comfortable sleeping socks. I did 12 rounds of cuff, and now I will start knitting down. I'm going to keep to my same recipe that I used from the Learn to Knit Socks pattern that I did on my last sleeping socks. That pattern is again by Stacy Perry of Very Pink Knits. So not a whole lot done with this, especially considering it is worsted weight, but I cannot wait to continue working on it and have another pair of sleeping socks to add to my sock drawer. This is Learn to Knit Socks by Stacey Perry, knit up in oil slick by Trilogy yarns. Next up is my Round and Round Cowl. This is another pattern by Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady. I have it in my Simpsons large drawstring bag by Fate's Thread, and here's how it is looking this week. I've made progress since my Pop-Tart from Suker Miniatures. It's definitely getting into some greens, like limey greens and yellows. Here is the current color I am working with. And here is the next color I will be working with, a little bit more mustard yellow in this one. I've been trying to basically do one stripe every day, and I am using my Fade Advent from Hue Loco that I got this last Christmas. And it definitely is fading very beautifully through a bunch of different colors. How gorgeous is that? I am currently working on the 19th color, and this is the 20th. So I just have about 4 more once I'm done with that one. I do intend to try to finish this by the end of the month so that I can maybe cast on a different cowl for April. We'll see how that goes. I just love all these colors. This is her 80/20 base, and it is a dream to work with, very nicely plied. And I just can't get over all these beautiful colors that she was able to so perfectly fade. This is the Round and Round Cowl by Kay Litton, knit up in the Fade Advent by Hue Loco. Next, I am excited to show you the progress I've made on my Moss Landing hat. It is in my retro Disney bag from Bags by Awesome Granny. All kinds of cool movies depicted in this fabric. I really love this bag. Perfect size for a hat. And here it is. This is a pattern by Kyle Konecki of Maker's Mercantile, and it was their February Hat of the Month Club pattern. The yarn is La Vie by Zitrone, and it's colors 3 and 4, kind of this teal and green color. It is a blend of 30% extra fine merino, 30% silk, and 40% tencel. Really a nice yarn to work with. My Starbucks coffee progress keeper is from Bump on a Hill on Etsy. And I have knit up the body of the hat. Now I am ready to start the crown decreases. I am using my really old Susan Bates 16-inch circular needles that I got from my granny. But I will need to switch to some double pointed needles now that I am decreasing for the crown. I think there's about 5 stripes worth of decreases. I'm really excited to have this off the needles. It is absolutely beautiful. I love the way these colors play together. This is the Moss Landing Hat by Kyle Konecki, knit up in Zitrone La Vie. Last but certainly not least, I would like to show you a new scrappy project that I just started. This is a granny stripe blanket, and I am using the pattern from Lucy of Attic 24, which seems to be a very popular pattern people are using for their granny stripe blanket. Here is what I've got so far. This is a crocheted granny stripe blanket, very popular pattern to use up minis. I chained 360 stitches, so it's going to be pretty wide, and I'm just kind of finishing up the setup round until I can actually start using the granny holes to make things go a little bit quicker. It's a little bit slow getting a project like this started, but it's so worth it once you can start flying. I also have a granny ripple blanket going. But I really wanted to start one of these granny stripe blankets because I've been getting Donna of Crystal Skies Hand Dyed monthly minis club, and I have probably 6 or 7 months worth of her minis to add to this. I am starting with her Teddy Bear Brown minis. This is what I've started with. A little bit of brown in this. Her minis kind of have a little bit of a color theme that ties all 5 minis in the set together. So this was from her Teddy Bear Brown month. I'm using a size E 3.5 millimeter hook. Here is the next color that I will use. And it's all wound up like this because I did have a little bit of drama with this project. I started actually using this color, which is super pretty, but I used a 3.25 hook and it just kind of was getting too tight and too small. It wasn't really flowing. And so I had basically the whole thing started and I decided to rip it all out. I'm happy that I did that though, because what I learned is that your foundation chain, even if you try to do it loose, is probably going to end up a lot tighter than the rest of your work. So what I did this second time is I actually chained with a size G hook, and then now I am using a size E, which is bigger than I started with in the first place last time. And I'm really happy with the fabric I'm getting so far. It was a little easier to see the chains with this lighter color. I was having a little bit of trouble with the darker brown in this colorway. So this will come next. I still love this color, but it will come next once I have finished adding this colorway completely to this blanket. Here are the other colors that came in that Teddy Bear Brown set that I am excited to wind up and use. I think I will try to use one set after the other to almost create a little bit of a fade. Check out Donna's shop on Etsy. She has a lot of wonderful colorways, and spoiler alert, last month's set of minis was absolutely incredible. My favorite so far. So definitely check out her shop on Etsy. Crystal Skies Hand Dyed. One more quick look. As you can see, it's not super impressive yet, but I'm very proud of myself for actually getting this started. So with doing the chain in a bigger hook, it's a lot more squared. It's not so tight and bunching up. I think it's going to work out a lot nicer. I'm very happy that I did take the time to rip out and start over. Once I am done with this row, then I will have the little granny holes to be able to work a lot quicker through. This is the granny stripe blanket from Lucy of Attic 24, knit up in Crystal Skies hand dyed ragdoll sock base from her monthly mystery mini club. Well, I think that will about do it for me today. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me. I did want to mention that I have a giveaway going on to celebrate 100 YouTube subscribers, so be sure to check out episode 20 for details on all of that. It will go through March 31st and I will pick the winner on April 1st. Please don't forget to give this video a like and consider subscribing. And as always, please let me know your thoughts about the podcast. I welcome any feedback. You may leave a comment down below or message me on Instagram. I am at Knitty Heather on Instagram, and I always love hearing from people. I also wanted to mention that we will be going on another road trip, so I probably won't be recording for another couple weeks, but I will be back, I promise. So stay tuned, and I will see you in a couple weeks. But until then, be well, be kind, and happy knitting and crocheting. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.